and then I had to kind of catch up after that.
Oh, wow, yeah.
If that makes sense, you know. So do you go to a local comic book store?
Yes, I go still hit it once a week, even despite unfortunately, Diamond is no longer distributing comic books right now, so there's no new comic books coming out for the time being. With the whole.
Yeah, I heard about that. So I go to a comic book store in Marietta, Georgia, called Great Escapes.
Oh, okay.
I've been going there for years. And so the other day I was in the area. I said, you know what? Let me swing by and see what they have for me. You know, I have a pull box there. And he pulls out one book. Mm. And I said, yeah, I heard about Diamond not publishing any books. And so the owner was there, and he told me that Diamond is supposed to start publishing books again, like in late May. Have you heard anything about
I've heard, yeah, because now states are starting to talk about reopening in general. They're going to start trying to get stuff geared back up again. But but my owner, I go to one called Borderlands Comics and Games in the Upstate, and yeah, he's actually said that apparently this might be Diamond's also doing this because a lot of retailers are saying, "Is there anyone else we can go to get our product back?" And the publishers are doing the same because Diamond's had that monopoly for so long, and now if they want to maintain it, they need to get back up and running again because they'll go to someone else to get their product back out there.
Right, and you know, I'm curious if Diamond, I guess. Diamond thought that everyone was just going to lay down and play dead. It's like, well, we can't get our books now, and I guess that's it. And that didn't happen at all. So I guess Diamond had to Diamond Distributors had to come up with a new plan.
Oh, yeah. Because my store, I don't know how your store's operating, but it's doing it's like doing if you need to do it like mail order or curbside, or if you go in the store, they have the 6 feet social distancing and everything set up too. So it's like they're following all the guidelines. Dean's like, we could still sell books if you just give us the books. We could keep the business going.
Right. Yeah, it's so crazy. And the one book that the guy had for me, I don't know if you've heard of this book. It's called Love and Rockets.
Oh yeah.
They're usually black and white comics, and it's the writers are Jamie and Gilbert. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to mess this up. Hold on a second. Hold the line. I'll be right back. Yeah, Dan, if you're listening, you're going to have to, hit another edit you're going to have to do. So I'll just start all over again and just say, all right. Yeah. So, hey, Jonathan, I don't know if you heard it. I said the only book that they had for me when I went to the comic book store was a Love and Rockets book. It's by Gilbert and Jamie Hernandez, and the book's been around for a long time. It sort of has a cult following, and so that was the joke between me and the guy in the comic book store. I says, okay. I says, the only book that I'm getting is a book that these guys publish it when they feel like it. And, we just thought that was so funny. I couldn't get my regular books, but look, these guys came through. And so I was, pleasantly surprised. I've been a fan of their books for such a long time, and I know that they'll just they're in a position where they can just print a book whenever they feel like it. And so, when one shows up, I'm just really pleasantly surprised and happy. But I met the guys. I met Jamie and Gilbert at 2012 San Diego Comic-Con. And they were so cool and unassuming and, really nice and didn't have any of the artists or writers' ego that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And they signed a couple of books for me, and it was really cool. But anyway, just a little side note there. My comic book shop has not set up social distancing. And I'm going to email the guy and let him know. I'm like, look, you need to, because it is kind of tight quarters in the comic book store. So I have a good, relationship with the owner. So I'll just suggest it, because, I can go into Walgreens and they have tape everywhere. Okay, you got to stand here and you got to stand there if you're going to wait online. So I think it's important, at least for a little while.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you, but I love going to my comic book store. You know what I mean? I always get a good feeling when I go.
Oh yeah, I'm still doing every Wednesday new comic book day. Just And instead of getting new comics now. I'm just going and like buying a trade I've been wanting to buy for a while and reading that for the night instead. It's like, well, I guess like this last time I got the Long Shot miniseries by Anna Nechetti and Arthur Adams, who.
Okay, I'm not familiar. Long Shot.
He's actually a mutant from another dimension in the X-Men universe, and his power was he can make luck bend in his favor whenever he does things. That's what hence his name, Long Shot.
Oh,
but he has like 3 fingers, and he ends up marrying Dazzler, and they're the father of the Shatterstar in the X-Force. That crazy X-Men continuity and stuff like that. But
yeah.
But that book's famous because that's the one that put Arthur Adams, the artist, on the map, and he's the guy who inspired all the Image artists and their style, for better or worse.
Wow. Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I love it when someone gives me an education. That is just awesome. You know?
Well, it's
go ahead.
Well, it's stuff I recently learned too. I was doing research on the Image artists, and they all said, "Oh, we love Arthur Adams." Like, who the heck is Arthur Adams? So I looked this guy. Oh, I actually recognized his art before I knew who he was, because I knew I read his book before, but it's like, oh yeah, it's back before I knew before I started caring who the artists and the writers were.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, like I think that's just an evolution of a comic book writer or researcher. You know, it's like you get really heavily, you know, like you start out as a fan, but then you want to, you know, take a peek behind the curtain and continue researching and finding out information and learning. And I think that's what makes, you know, your podcast pretty exciting, you know.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, you know, congratulations on, you know, wrapping up season 2 of your podcast.
Well, it's more about that. I ran out of content. I have nothing in the bank for next week. So, and when I do that, I just do a weekly, I call it the classics episodes, where I just highlight a certain story and actually in this last one, a cartoon, the Batman Beyond, that people should check out.
Oh, one of my favorite shows. Oh my gosh, yeah. I love that series. Oh. I just thought it was so great. And I also liked how, I wasn't sure if it was Batman Beyond or Justice League, one of the Justice League cartoons where they sort of tied in who Terry McGinnis is. Oh, it was the season finale of season 2 of Justice League Unlimited. Okay, that's what I thought.
Because they can't, because they canceled Batman Beyond before they were able to give it a proper series finale.
Right. Okay, yes, and how Amanda Waller was behind the whole thing, you know, and I was like, oh, this is so cool, and it was so unexpected, you know, as well. I thought Batman Beyond was great, and I love the Batman Beyond open. I think it is like one of the best opens of all time. You know, so funny story. I was visiting a friend. I had to go out to LA for a work thing, and I was visiting a friend that works at Warner Brothers, and he had just gotten the job there, and he was taking me around. And Bruce Timm walks by, and I'm like, "Oh, cool! Can I meet him?" And he goes, "No."
He's that big, huh?
Yeah, and you know, it looked like Bruce Timm was like getting ready to go to a meeting, or he was on his way somewhere, and it was just so funny. It was so funny. I'm like, oh man, you know, maybe next time.
Well, but for the longest time, I feel like
he surprised me.
He was a lot taller in person. You know,
he just looked like a giant in person. You know, so that was a surprise too. You know, I'm like, wow. I said he's really tall. But anyway, almost, maybe another time. But, so great, man. It was really cool talking to you. And I'm definitely going to check out your podcast. I can't wait to listen to it and get educated as well. So I enjoyed the interview and getting to know, you know, about what makes Jonathan Wheatley work. What makes your mind go?
Oh, that's not might not be a good thing, but yeah.
Yeah. So, thanks for taking the time and the opportunity to, you know, let me, you know, to meet you, because Dan's told me a lot about you, of course, and to be able to talk to you as well. cool.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
And I probably might have some questions for you down the road, just stuff that I'm like, okay. I said, I got to email Jonathan. He would probably know about this or give me a clue about something, So
definitely.
So you might be getting an email from me about something that I'm curious about or I can't figure out in the comic book world.
Well, I'll do my best. I'm learning as I go along with this thing too. I'm finding out stuff. So it was fun. Well, I'm enjoying listening to Mark on your show, Best Saturdays of Our Lives. That's been a lot of fun.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Now, I was meaning to bring this up. Do you plan to write any more books? I was thinking a trilogy. If I was.
Of what? Of the best Saturdays?
Well, I was thinking you should do the best mornings of our lives, and then the one I wasn't looking forward to, the best afternoons of our lives.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, it's funny you mention that because I was planning on writing another book based on the podcast where I will, where we talk about, a lot of the stuff that didn't air on Saturday morning, where we talk about stuff that, the afternoon blocks, like, the He-Man blocks and the Disney afternoon blocks and how all of those kind of came about, and just the syndicated shows that were not on Saturday morning too, which did really well, like your G.I. Joes, your Transformers, your Gems, and stuff like that. And so that will probably be the next book because there was a lot I covered in the first book, but there's a lot that, I did not cover. And one of the things that I really want to talk about is the 1980s, how that was like, something that Dan and I talk about all the time. It was like, Saturday morning was at its height in the 1980s. And it's a very special era for a lot of people, more so than the 60s and 70s.
Oh. Well, we're both childs of the 80s, sir. So I remember growing up also that afternoon where I would try to race home to catch my favorite all the time was granted, it's early 90s with Batman the Animated Series. That was my bread and butter right there. I love that show. Yeah. But of course I
love that show too.
When DuckTales and Rescue Rangers and Tiny Toons launched, I was like, oh my goodness, this is a good time to be a kid.
Right. Oh yeah. And I mean, it's kind of interesting because, like I was talking about Archie comics earlier, not having their hands in a lot of other areas. Disney was kind of doing the same thing. I mean, they were just doing shorts and theatricals, but there was a whole television market that they were ignoring, and that Disney afternoon was like a real game changer for people. So, and for the company too, as well, in order to bring in revenue. So, it's just kind of interesting that someone at Disney finally said, hey, we can make cartoons for the afternoon. We can make a whole slew of cartoons for the afternoon. So, it's just pretty interesting, someone having the right idea at the right time and someone listening and actually saying, hey, let's do that.
And that was the mostly unedited interview between Mark McCray and me about my podcast, History of Comic Podcast, that was, of course, used in the Season 2, Episode 24 of Thunder Talk that was premiered last week. Do check out that episode again. And also, once again, thanks to Mark McCray and Dan Klink for setting this up. Mark McCray was as you can tell, we had a great time just talking in general and great listening to all. If you enjoyed that, please check out Mark McCray's book, The Best Saturdays of Our Lives. Pick up wherever books are sold. And if you go to his website, thebestsaturdaysourlives.com, you can get a signed copy. But, of course, if you can't do that, you can go to, I think you sell it Amazon, probably Barnes & Noble too. Just a great read. Definitely worth checking out. Like, also check out his and Dan Klink's podcast, The Best Saturdays of Our Lives. You can find it on most any podcasting platforms. I listen to, all my podcasts on iTunes, but I'm pretty sure it's on other platforms as well. So do please check it out. Also look them up on Facebook and Twitter and so forth. And once again, thanks for this podcast. I thought this would be a nice little break from the classics, and as I keep pounding away at getting some more history episodes out. But thanks again once again, and please do check out The Best Saturdays of Our Lives in podcast and book format. And now is May